and even him.
Oh, yeah. Again, do you want to be in that company?
No, it's not a good
Very few people pull it off, and the only way I like the turtlenecks are the blazer, but that's me. Anyway, we're going to call this order, okay? Hello, everyone. We're going to call this City Council Public Budget Meeting to order. And with that, I'm going to read the rules on public hearings for non-zoning matters. The mayor is the presiding officer. All remarks shall be addressed to the City Council as a body, not to individual members. Anyone wishing to speak shall come to the microphone, give their name and address to the city clerk. Limit remarks to 3 minutes unless further time is granted by the council. Not speak a second time until everyone wishing to speak has spoken once. No one speak more than twice. Please do not speak unless you have the microphone and have been recognized. And with that, we will open the public hearing, and I will hand it over to Daria to give us our presentation on the budget.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. My name is Daria Kriskus. I'm the Budget and Strategy Manager. As you all know, this is our third and final public hearing that we'll be having on the 2026 proposed budget. It's slated to be adopted at the council meeting on December 16th, I believe it is. Tuesday, December 16th. So this is information that we've presented at those hearings as well, but I'm going to dive right in. We're going to cover everything. So just to give you some background, here you see on our slide, this is sort of the summary of everything that we like to give up top. Just some information about our budget process itself. It's a lengthy process. We began this process about 6 months ago, and for a variety of reasons took the approach that we're really looking to sustain the city's growth. In this budget proposal, we've had a lot of growth over the last 5 years, and we were looking to kind of keep that sustained. And also keeping in mind that the city is subject to the same inflationary pressures, cost increases that everyone else is. As you know, health insurance in particular is something that was a big hit. We learned that the renewal for our insurance would be 31%, and in response to that, you all approved for us to switch over to a new carrier, which had a pretty significant cost avoidance that definitely helped. Additionally, we had the factor of seeing some slowing of the revenue growth. It's still growing, it's just not as aggressive of a rate as it has been in the past. And so as part of that, the city manager's office asked all of the city departments to look for opportunities to reduce budgets as they plan for 2026. What we found from that was the organization, is pretty lean, so it was a challenge for people to get to a certain percent on that. But every department did an excellent job in looking for the opportunities that they could. And the result of all of that work is a flat general fund budget at $35.9 million, which is 0% increase over last year. And that is based on a projected millage rate of 6.25 mils. That's the same millage rate we've had for several years. We wouldn't actually be setting that millage rate until June of 2026, so mid-year next year, but that's what we projected for the budget. So I want to talk about a few of the most significant items that are included in the general fund. I already mentioned the health insurance, so I'll skip through that one, but we did include some strategic investment in renewable energy infrastructure, technology for the Real-Time Crime Center, and an additional investigator. We're also looking to procure a budgeting software that's going to help us streamline our budget process and have more transparent reporting for you all and for the public, as well as just some efficiency gains from our processes internally. We're also looking to have a economic development strategic assessment. So these are some of the items that I would say really get to our strategic priorities as a city and what we're trying to achieve in terms of those things. Some of the other items that were pretty significant here, we had we have increasing debt service. Over the last couple of years, we've purchased property along Broad Street. We have a new public works building, Fishbolt Park, which is set to begin construction next year. Some of those items, that's where the debt service is generated from. We had some pretty significant increases for citywide custodial services. And then finally, I want to mention that we're continuing to invest in our community engagement department with continued funding for a nonprofit partnership program and the neighborhood engagement program. We're increasing our investment in events. including some events for the 2026 FIFA World Cup. And we will also have increased investment in partnered events next year. So this here is a summary of all of the budget by department. You can see everybody. Several of these departments make up administration, like city manager, finance, HR, et cetera. So moving into this slide, that's all kind of consolidated under that administration slice. But you can see the biggest drivers or cost centers for us are public safety, administration, and public works. So now I'm going to move into the special revenues. This is comprised of a number of different items, and so I have a summary here by fund, and I think the biggest increase or change that you'd want to note here is the addition of Fund 802, which is the GO bond fund. And as you know, we issued that bond earlier this year and received about $30 million in revenue. So next year, we're budgeting that, those proceeds, as well as the funds that we are going to collect to pay the debt service on that. Some of the items I wanted to touch on in addition to that, so typically we have, over the last few years, been budgeting 10% of the hotel motel revenue, which is our tourism revenue, or for tourism purposes, so that goes toward the Public Arts Commission projects. That will continue, and we are also providing an allocation there to assist with funding the FIFA World Cup events that we'll be having. There's also $1.2 million that we're budgeting it's actually in the multiple grants fund. It's a combination of our TIP grant that we receive and a transfer from SPLOST, which is our portion of it, but that'll all be budgeted out of the multiple grants fund, and that is for us to get started on the right-of-way acquisition. This is a project that's been ongoing for several years now. In the downtown SSD, we'll continue to fund maintenance and police personnel out of that, as well as flock cameras, and some of the new items will be the design and engineering of the South Lawn Green Space, which is that space down there, kind of behind where I'm standing here at City Hall. And then updates to Rideshare Park, artificial turf, updating some of the benches downtown and things like that. Out of the Dresden Placer SSD, which is a newer SSD, we established that either at the end of last year or early this year. We'll be funding phase 2 of the Dresden Trail project, continuing to fund a laborer position that was established this year, and that's for Dresden and Arrow Creek parks. And there will also be funding for crosswalks and enhanced safety site improvements along Dresden and Plaster roads. And then SPLOST, that's some of, this is where we get to some of our really big capital improvement items. So as I mentioned, the matching funds for rail trail. There will be the Broad Street streetscape and utility relocation project, the Chambly-Dunwoody Road Diet, police vehicle equipment replacement. That's something that comes out of SPLOST every year. We also have a property acquisition for Parsons Drive and Perimeter Park Connector. The completion of the Dresden Park Community Room, that's just a carryover from this year. That's a project that we're wrapping up right here as we prepare to open that park again. Conversion of Plaza Way to a one-way road, and we also have the 2026 paving projects. That analysis is we're in the process of conducting that to get ready for paving. Hopefully we'll have that paving list generated by next summer. And then construction of Dresden Trail from Shallowford Road and Dresden Park. And then finally, as you know, out of that GO bond fund, we have, all of those proceeds there to do the design, engineering, and construction of Huntley Hills Park, Nancy Creek West and Savoy Trails, Woodacres Park / South Chambly Park, and Keswick Park Master Plan implementation. Then finally, we have our enterprise funds. These are our business type funds that include solid waste and stormwater. So there's a modest, I think it's about 5% increase over last year here overall in those funds. And the big items there are the major stormwater inventory and assessment, which will be completed in 2026. That's a scope of work that you all approved last month. There's $1.5 million in stormwater repair projects, and that's just to continue addressing some of the needed repairs and maintenance of stormwater infrastructure. Some of those things are pretty, urgent and critical, so we continue to fund those. And debt service, again, a portion of that debt service that I mentioned earlier is paid out of the stormwater fund. Last thing I want to cover is an increase to commercial and residential sanitation fees. On the residential side, that'll be a $70 per year increase, so I believe that will go up to $355 if I believe that's right. I'll have to double check. $355 per for the year. We'll do an increase again for a 3-year plan, and the reason for that is that the solid waste fund typically does run a deficit, and it is going to continue to run a deficit, but what we found is that at this stage, in order to, without that fee increase, we would see the general fund substantially increasing its support to that fund by over $1 million, and didn't feel that, that was the direction we wanted to go. We want to try to alleviate some of that pressure on the general fund, so that's the reason for that increase. There's also a smaller kind of like side of the business with commercial, and we're increasing those fees as well. So there's about $30,000 per year that will come from that. So with that, that's the end of my presentation. So if you have any questions, I'm here to answer them.
I want to start with a big thank you. I know this, for those out there, this is 6 months of work to get to today and to get to this passed. We're facing significant headwinds, as Daria mentioned. We're seeing a decrease in our tax digest, and for everything that's happening on the federal level down, economy cooling off, that we are being very conservative in our projections and also our budgeting, because we owe that to our citizens to have that fiscal responsibility and fiduciary responsibility as well. And with that, I'll open it up to Elmer for discussion.
No, I think we've covered this enough. Again, I think we all recognize that it's not as easy as we want it to be. And seeing some other cities and the jams they're trying to get out of, excellent work to our staff to try and stay ahead of these things and make sure that we're on the right track. So thank you.
Yeah, and I'll just add one more note that we're not immune from inflation. We're not immune from cost of living increases. We're not immune from all the other things that private businesses go through and the residents are facing. And we're making decisions based on those variables as well. With that, I will enter into public comments, and I must read the rules before we do that. The mayor is the presiding officer. All remarks shall be addressed to the city council as a body, not to individual members. Anyone wishing to speak shall come to the microphone, give their name and address to the city clerk. Limit remarks to 3 minutes unless further time is granted by the council. Not speak a second time unless everyone wishing to speak has spoken once, and no one can speak more than twice. And please do not speak unless the microphone has been recognized. Now we got the legal language out of the way. There's no one here, so we'll ask if there's an executive session. Nope, and we will adjourn by consent. Thank you, everyone.